In this video, we're going to introduce the idea of some basic electronic components and find out where they are on the top. And we'll learn a little bit about what each one does and have a look at a simple circuit. For more information, visit jb.works and search the TMT code shown in the middle of the screen. This is the second video in a series of 10 for people beginning their journey with the JackBord top. For a full list of videos in this series, search the TMT code in the center of the screen. And for more information on the JackBord top, use the TMT code at the bottom of the screen. For this video, all you need is one JackBord BASIC top. And so essentially an electronic circuit is made up of electronic components, which are these two, and you have wires that join them together in specific ways so that they will do specific things. So this particular circuit will just turn on an LED when you apply 3 volts to it. That's what this circuit does. And so this is a circuit diagram, and these are electronic components, in this case a resistor and an LED. So next we're going to start looking at the electronic components that are involved in basic electronics. And these are kind of the bread and butter parts that you will find in just about every circuit. We have things called resistors, we have different types of resistors, so you've got a variable, you've got a light dependent resistor, and capacitors, LEDs of different types, buttons, transistors, diodes, and wires. So over the next few parts we'll look at each one of these and learn a little bit about how they work. Resistors pretty much do exactly what their name says. They resist the flow of current. So if you think of a garden hose as being a wire that's carrying electrical current and the water is the current, when you stand on the hose you constrict or you resist the flow of the water, and that's exactly what resistors do. This is a resistor here. These are all fixed type resistors. So this is a through-hole resistor, and these are little surface mount ones that literally just sit on the surface, and their values don't change, and so these limit the amount of current that can flow through a circuit. Then we have a different type of resistor called a light dependent resistor, and what happens with these is that the amount of light falling on the resistor determines its resistance. So if we go back to these ones over here, these 1K resistors will always be 1K, their value won't change, and likewise for the 10K, the 100Ks, and the 1 meg. But the value of this resistor will change depending on how much light is falling on it. And then finally we have the variable resistors, and there are 2 of these on the JackBord BASIC. And these are called variable resistors because you vary the amount of resistance by turning the 2 knobs. So these are variable resistors. So to summarize, resistors limit the amount of current that can flow through a wire or a circuit. And you have fixed variable resistors, and then you have the variable types that have a value that changes, whether it's from light falling on them or by someone turning a knob. A capacitor lets you store power for a short period of time. And on the JackBord BASIC top, there are 3 of them, C1, C2, and C3. And they are respectively 10 microfarads, 10 microfarads, and 20 microfarads. So essentially, the 20 microfarad capacitors here will store twice the amount of power as the 10 microfarad capacitors. So capacitors let you store some power for a short period of time. LEDs, or light-emitting diodes, are a special type of diode that naturally emits light. So most LEDs only show one color, like these ones here. So on the JackBord BASIC top, we have red, green, blue, yellow, and white LEDs. And each one of these will only show its color. So the white LED will always only show white, the red one will always only show red. Now a second type are RGB, or red, green, and blue LED diodes. And what these will do is these let you show many different types of color by combining various combinations of red, green, and blue. So basically we have light emitting diodes that just emit one color, and then RGB light emitting diodes that let you emit many different colors. Now we're going to look at switches and transistors, and the reason I've put these in the same segment is that they basically do exactly the same thing. So the first one we're going to look at are a switch, which is a button switch. And there are two of these, one on either side of the JackBord BASIC. And all they do is bring two wires together. So if we look here, these are the two wires. When they're not connected, the switch is off. But when you bring them together, the switch is on. And if you look, current can flow through the wire. Whereas here it can't flow because it can't get across this break. So on is when the wires are connected and off is when they're disconnected. So whenever you turn the light switch on at home or press a computer key on a keyboard, you're basically opening and closing switches. Now the next component is the transistor, and all this is an electronic version of the mechanical switch. And there are three of these on the JackBord BASIC top. And you can see the symbol is this one here. This is how they look. And so essentially these are electronic versions of the mechanical switch. And these have the advantage of being able to run very, very quickly. And in fact, the CPU on your computer has got hundreds of millions, if not billions, of these little switches inside. So switches, or buttons, and transistors let you turn something on and off in a circuit. Diodes are very simple. All they do is they only let current flow in one direction. So if we look at the diode here, current can only go from left to right, this way, but it can't go from right to left. And what tells us the direction that the current will go is this band. So this is saying that the current can go from the left side to the right side, but not the other way around. And that's why the symbol of a diode shown here, which is the diode that's actually on the JackBord BASIC top, has an arrow pointing in the direction that the current will be allowed to flow. And lastly, we're going to look at wires. And basically wires carry electric current in a circuit. And they're essentially made of copper and copper strands, which you can see here, and then they're covered by a plastic coating or a plastic sleeve, and this just protects them and stops them from short circuiting. And the wires that you're going to use mostly with the JackBord BASIC top are called jumper wires, and they're these guys here. And each end has a female connector on it, and then you plug them into the pins on the JackBord BASIC. So essentially circuits use wires to carry current from one place to another. In the next video, we're going to look at how to connect the JackBord BASIC top to the JackBord BASIC. To jump directly to the next video, visit jb.works and search the TMT code shown at the bottom of the screen in the search prompt. For more information and to get help, visit jb.works.